if you could add this to a journaling, morning routine, nighttime routine thing, where you ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I have of the one thing I value the most?
Through all of that challenge, I think that I was able to shift from significance to growth. And now I think that all of us should identify what the number one is.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode. Episode number 1576. I think I just opened Spotify by accident. Let me close that quickly. It's my bad.
We're going to need you to get it together.
Now it's frozen, so I can't see the screen. Okay. Yesterday's episode was One Reason We All Need to Avoid Fake Confidence, Part 2, episode number 1576. Today, for episode number 1577, 6 questions that will help you understand yourself so much better. One of the first TED Talks I ever watched, I believe, was a recommendation by the one Alan Lazaros. And he said, "Hey, brother, might be one of the best TED Talks of all time." Yeah, I don't know why I went Hulk Hogan there for a minute. This is one of the...
No, I said the best.
The best. This is the best TED Talk of all time. You should watch it.
I still believe that to be true.
And what was the name of it? What was the name of the TED Talk?
Why We Do What We Do by one Anthony Robbins.
By one Anthony Robbins. So, the TED Talk was comprised of a lot of things, but in that, Tony Robbins talked about the 6 basic human needs. I'll let you go through it, Alan, and then I can kind of tell my story. It wouldn't be fair of me or right of me to teach them, since you're the one who revealed them to me. So what are the 6 basic human needs, and why do they matter? Also, again, these are not ours. These are Tony Robbins.
All right, so the first one is certainty. And I think the best way to describe certainty is, at the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of uncertainty. So it was very hard to think about the future when you weren't sure about the present. So certainty. Number 2 is variety. This is fun, unique experiences, travel, different food. Anyone who's a foodie most likely likes variety. They crave variety. And yeah, variety, pretty self-explanatory. Next would be significance. So statistically speaking, young men, Kevin and I were both young American men growing up in America, and we craved significance, the American dream and wealth and all that kind of stuff. So significance tends to be what young boys are looking for. They want to be good at sports, and they want to be, wealthy one day, and they want to drive a nice car. So significance, and again, women crave significance as well, but in Tony's words, he says men will do a lot for significance. Women will tend to do a lot for the 4th need, which is love. And again, this is changing, actually, which is really good. I think that women are craving significance more, men are craving love more. I think it's a really good thing that the masculine and feminine are sort of balancing out, so to speak. But anyways, so the first one, certainty. Second one, variety. Third one, significance. Fourth one, love. Okay? The 5th and the 6th needs are what he calls the needs of the spirit. The first 4 needs are what he calls the needs of the human. So everyone finds a way to meet the first 4. Certainty, variety, significance, love. The 5th and 6th are the ones that this podcast is focused on, which is growth and contribution. And so the point of this episode, to my understanding, Kevin, we've done many episodes about these needs because they're so important. But what I tried to bring to the table on this one, I told Kevin this in advance, is I'm going to try to help everyone understand what their number 1 is. So Tony essentially says this in the TED Talk. I do highly recommend you watch the TED Talk. It is the best TED Talk I've ever watched, and I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of TED Talks. Probably hundreds. And it's by far the most important TED Talk, in my opinion. That said, Tony says that we all have all 6 needs. All of us find a way to meet at least the first 4, the needs of the human. Very few of us ever focus on growth and contribution, which he believes is where fulfillment comes from. I don't think he actually says this, but that's what I've deduced. And so I've been really focused on fulfillment and these needs and trying to understand how to meet them and how to sustain them, and more importantly, which one's the most important for you. So that's what this episode I think will be about. which is what is the quote-unquote paradigm that you live in. And a paradigm is just a fancy word for your deepest belief about what the meaning of life is. And for me, my paradigm shifted from significance as a young American male to growth after my car accident at 26, which was sort of like my midlife crisis. And Kevin had a similar midlife crisis, life or death situation with suicidal ideation, and he shifted his paradigm from certainty to growth, even though certainty is still, I think, maybe number one.
Quarter life crisis is what I call it.
Yeah, quarter life crisis.
Quarter life crisis. 26. Strange year for both of us. Very well explained. My ultimate thought, my goal is based on the story. So when I left my job and I started doing this quote unquote full time, I had a lot more time on my hands, obviously, because there's nothing going on, because we were just two podcasters doing our thing, you know?
I went back on my calendar, Kev.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Christina and I, the COO of the company, Christina's the glue. I just want to shout her out always because she makes everything behind the scenes happen and harmonize. So shout out to Christina. Thank you so much for all that you do.
An OG.
OG
We're
listener.
Talking 2018 probably is when we first connected with Christina. 2019.
So JoJo's 9. She started listening when I think he was like 2. Her son, JoJo. Youngest NLU listener to our awareness.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's been a minute.
Wild. It's wild. Yeah.
It's been a minute.
So, anyways, Christina and I were on Zoom. She's the COO of the company. We're trying to run the company better in 2024 than we did in 2023. I went back on my calendar all the way back to 2017. Dude, our calendars back then were empty.
Well, I wasn't doing anything with my calendar. Not in 2007, not 2018, none of that for me.
2023 was hefty. 2022 was just as hefty. 2021, it started getting skimpier. 2020 was definitely noticeably different. And then 2019 and 2018 and 2017, I mean, it drops off a cliff. We just were not doing a lot.
Wasn't a lot going on.
Wasn't a lot going on. Yeah. So,
podcasters?
anyways, hopefully that's valuable for what you were trying to portray.
Most likely not. I'd say probably not, if I had to guess. No, it is. It is. This was when I was really in, again, thanks to Alan, building habits. I had habits, but I had never intentionally said, I want to get better at this. I'm going to do this every single day. So when I was one of the most on point times in my life, I felt like I was crushing it. I was getting up early. I would have a little pre-workout meal. I would have my pre-workout shake. I would do 30 minutes of mobility while listening to a book, audiobook, watching a physical therapy YouTube video, whatever it is, and I would journal. That was my morning routine every day. And when I would journal, one of the things I would do, and this is after I had determined my most important thing was certainty. The thing that would make or break my day, that would make or break my mood, that affected my mental health, that affected everything, my ability to look into the future, not predict the future, but imagine that I'm still going to be doing this in a few years, was certainty. I would wake up, and when I was journaling, one of the questions I would ask myself is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much certainty do you have? And if it was below 5, it was noticeably different in my mood, in my inspiration, in my motivation, all of that, just in my belief of how successful we were or were not going to be. I would say that the 6 questions that will help you understand yourself so much better, technically probably 7 questions, which one is the most important to you? And Alan, I'm sure you can freestyle off of that, but then ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much certainty do I have? How much variety do I have? How much growth do I have? Contribution, significance, love. How much of those do I have in my life? Then when it gets to the point where you understand the one that's most important to you, maybe you'll know why you feel a certain way. I am somebody who, I'm still very certainty driven, less than ever, I would say, but still, I do like certainty. My chair just did it. I try to play it off. Look, I don't know what's going on with my chair because I fixed it, quote unquote, but it's still Jeffing me. I'm going to have to flip it over and unscrew it and stuff. I don't know what the issue is.
You gotta write a very, very negative email to the manufacturer.
I'm so frustrated because I am a huge fan of this chair. I just don't know what's going on. So, yeah, I would say it's probably 7 questions. What's the most important? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how well is each of these human needs being met for you?
Yeah, you have to meet all 6, if you want a holistic, fulfilling life. And if you think about health, wealth, and love, and the way that we run this podcast, harmonizing all 3 of those, it really does. It's supposed to be designed to meet all 6 of your needs, really. But to Kevin's point, we all have one really, really, really big one. And honestly, I'm not convinced you can really shift it without a lot of pain and trauma. So my car accident was a really, really negative, challenging experience. Obviously, I physically was okay, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it really messed me up. And I remember the next few years were very, very, very challenging. Kept getting pulled over. Driving was hard for me. All my relationships, all that kind of stuff had to shift. Quit drinking, kept failing, kept drinking, quit drinking, kept failing, the whole 9. And through all of that challenge, I think that I was able to shift from significance to growth. And now I think that all of us should identify what the number 1 is.
Next Level University and Kevin is exactly where you need to be if you're a podcaster. When I first started out just a few months ago, I had no clue on the direction I was going. I was getting hustled by another company that was giving me not even close to the value that Kevin and Next Level U was giving me. They literally changed the trajectory of my podcast, have helped me out tremendously. They understand the clients. I promise you, you will not go wrong with dealing with Kevin and Next Level U. I'll see you there.
So, Kev, 0 to 10, which one is your 10?
Certainty.
On those? Certainty. Okay, so
Still.
Kev's is 10 out of 10 certainty. He's 10 out of 10 certain that it's certainty. I am certain that it's growth. And I would say a close second for me would be love now. When Emilia and I are not good, I don't care about growth anymore at all, as a matter of fact. And I think in some ways I tie my growth to her growth and that kind of thing. But so for the listeners, which one's your big one? Which one's your 10 out of 10, the most important? And then the next question is, and this is a deeper layer, what is the thing that is most tied to it? So I'm going to give an example. We have a listener and team member, listener long ago and team member now, who I think her number 1, and this is what I'm doing in coaching, I'm trying to figure out what's the number 1 motivator, what's the number 1 need, what matters to this person most. So for example, Kevin's number 1 love language is money, aka certainty. So Kevin's biggest source of uncertainty is money. And so when we make more money, he has more certainty, and then he can think longer term and his needs are met. So I use that as a motivator, not use it in a negative way, but to lead Kev. As long as he's certain that we're going to be making more money and abundant, now he is more likely to stay motivated, if that makes sense. Okay, so this other person who I coach, her number 1 is love. She's very family-oriented. She's got 2 children. She's been married for 13 years. It's very clear to me that love is number 1. Growth is a very close number 2, which is good. But no, love is number 1. So what I had to figure out, though, is what does she correlate her self-esteem to? Because self-love is also important. And her self-esteem is very tied to physical fitness. And so if we could dial in physical fitness, she would have more self-love, and then her family would prosper, and she would prosper, and then she would grow and contribute. And so essentially what we want to do on this episode for every listener is, number 1, what's the number 1 of the 6? What's the most important? And then number 2, what's the most important leverage point or lever to pull in order to get that need met? In other words, this person, when she's physically fit, she overcomes body shame. She is becoming more attractive, and she associates that with self-love and being loved by her husband and her family, and then everything proliferates from there. Everything gets better. She grows. And so that's kind of what I'm doing in coaching is I figure out what's the number one love language. What's the number one bottleneck to whether or not this person's needs are being met? And I'll use Emilia as an example too. Her number one is growth by far. So last night we were doing finances. It's Sunday night, and we're both in front of spreadsheets, and you would think she was in Disneyland, man. It was, it's unbelievable. I was like, this is it? She's like, this is 10 out of 10 for me. I'm like, okay, we can do this all the time. That's totally fine, right? I just didn't know. It's not a normal, that's not a normal love language, right? If you want to be in spreadsheets, we can rock and roll. I'm in spreadsheets all the time. But now I'm starting to understand if you want to motivate and lead people, you have to understand these needs, and you have to understand the love languages that go with them. But if you want to lead yourself, which is what this episode's about, you have to understand yourself, and that's really what we're doing.
Just so I can connect, because I know somebody might hear love languages and hear, how are they connecting to the love languages?
So for you, I think money's a love language.
Okay.
And if that makes sense, money brings you certainty. And so what would be a good example? If I were to just gift you money, it would mean the world to you.
I'm happy.
Yeah. And so I probably made it a little more complicated than it should have been. From a leadership perspective, it's important to understand what's the need, and the love language is usually meeting that need.
Okay.
But I complicated it. Right now, let's talk about self leadership instead of I
just wanted to make sure, because I know when we hear love languages, we think the 5 love languages, and then maybe things. I want to make sure whether you're watching or listening, you could connect it to the overall point. That's all.
If anyone does want, we have the 25 conscious love languages at the Conscious Couples podcast. You can email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. I had someone email me last week for that, and growth is one of the love languages. Money is one of the love languages. Fitness is one of the love languages. Fitness is a love language for you, for sure. But that also makes you certain. When you're not working out, man, you're definitely less certain. I've noticed that for sure. So yeah.
It's just a self-awareness thing at the end of the day. It just really, when I started doing this, I don't really do this anymore. Again, things have changed a lot, and my morning routine has been all over the place lately, but I remember I would sit down and I would just feel scared. It's probably the best way to put it, because this was early in business. There was no money going on. I was struggling. I was riding the struggle bus. I was terrified. And I connected, the worse I feel, usually there was a direct correlation to the level of long-term certainty I had. Even short-term, not even long-term. But that allowed me at least to understand. It wasn't, why do I feel so terrible today? Why do I not want to do anything? Why is the weight so heavy today on my shoulders in life? Why do I feel so hopeless? It was the fact that I was super, super uncertain. Now, even we had a conversation today about money and certainty. We would never have been able to have that conversation if that wasn't a practice that was going on 6 years ago. So that would be my next level nugget. If you could add this to a journaling, morning routine, nighttime routine thing, where you ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I have of the one thing I value the most? Because if you don't have any of the thing you value the most, you're most likely going to be riding the struggle bus, and it's just a good thing to be aware of, so then you can put the things in place to overcome that or shore up that weakness.
Yeah, it comes down to you're going to be an empty cup. If you don't have a consistent stream, for lack of better phrasing, of whatever your number one of those 6 are, you're definitely going to ride the struggle bus. And it's really, really, really important to stay humble about that, for sure. Again, to recap, certainty, variety, significance, love, growth, and contribution. And so for the listeners, if growth is high for you, this podcast probably is something you really, really adore and you don't like to miss. You need that fix. You need that fix of growth every day, because otherwise you just don't feel fulfilled. So I think that ultimately underneath all this is fulfillment. One last little example is Emilia craves variety a lot more than I do. And so during the winter months when we're traveling less and we're playing less sports and we're outside in nature less and we do less adventures, it really is less fulfilling for her. Whereas I'm pretty much the same. Winter doesn't bother me. If anything, I kind of like it because I like being inside. But I know that that's unfulfilling for her. And I know that will resonate with a lot of our listeners. So just try to understand, if variety is your number one, you got to focus on it. You got to. If growth is your number one, you got to focus on it. If certainty is your number one and money's tied to that, you got to make sure money's coming in. And that's just really important. It's great self-awareness, yeah.
We used to be the hyper-conscious podcast back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
That was the goal. Self-awareness. Forever. All day, every day.
Hyper-conscious.
Yeah. Do you remember the intro?
Change the way you think. Change the way you act. Change the way you live.
I remember that, but I don't remember the actual intro.
Welcome back to another very special episode of the Hyper Conscious Podcast.
I remember that.
What are you talking about, man?
Like the intro. Like the branded intro with the dun 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 with the music and all that.
Oh yeah, that was a jam.
That was a jam. All right, if you have not yet joined our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, please do so. For every time my chair gives out and almost throws me into a cyclone of mayhem, I need someone to come join Next Level Nation, and eventually I will fix the chair. Again, it's a really good group of people. That is, I think, what we're all longing for. Love is on here. Love. You might not think of, well, a Facebook group is going to bring me love, but it's you fitting in with people who actually value what you value, and you can be yourself. You can be authentically you. It is community. We all want a deeper community, and that is exactly why we created Next Level Nation. Link will be in the show notes. We would love to have you there if you are interested.
Next Level Live 2024 is coming up March 23rd. It's going to be in person and virtual. So we're going to have in-person tickets, only 30 individuals, small, 3 groups of 10, breakout sessions. And then we're also going to have a virtual component that Christina is going to be leading and running. The virtual will be $47 per ticket. The in-person will be $97 per ticket. We do not have the landing page done or completely done yet, but keep that in mind. March 23rd. It is not going to be starting super early. So we've done this how many times now? We've done an event every year for...
Yeah, this will be the third Next Level Live.
Okay, third Next Level Live, but we've done an event, I'm pretty sure, every year for the last 6 years, if you include the very first one. So we're getting better at this. It's really, really good. And there's something about meeting the team. A lot of the team is going to be there. Kevin and I are going to be there, and meeting other listeners in person. It will be an unforgettable experience. And then again, there's the virtual component. So if you do want to be a part of this, you need to email me now, please, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. I'm going to put you on a list, and we're going to make sure that you're the first to get your tickets. We are literally not selling more than 30 in-person tickets. So please reach out to me now as soon as possible. And is there anything I'm missing?
Yeah, it's small and intimate. I'll be there rocking the acoustic guitar. Maybe I'll play Wonderwall. And maybe, you know what I mean? Something like that. Just acoustic. We don't know. We don't have all the details, because if we have it at a certain place, there will be really, really nice meals included. We're just not exactly sure on the exact location yet, but more info to come. But I don't think you missed anything.
When we do lock down the location specifically, we're going to have a lot more information for you. The website will be done. We're not doing it early in the morning. I believe it's going from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So it's kind of like a midday event, one full day, all things NLU. We hope you come meet the community, meet the team, join us, and have an unforgettable experience. We only do this once a year, so please do not miss out on this. We only do this once per year.
Maybe we'll talk about it. I was going to say maybe we could do like some sort of giveaway. Someone comes, hangs out with us at the Airbnb after with the team. We'll see. We'll figure something out. Mm-hmm. But yes, we would love to see you. If you're local or you want to travel, that's a great excuse to travel to come see your NLU family. Tomorrow for episode number 1578. Do you actually just trust people too much? I remember this is something we used to get often when we would. I know we used to do episodes on DMs that we got from listeners, and I remember one of the episodes we did was based on someone saying, "Yeah, I just trust people. I just trust people too much," and I wanted to approach that with a different perspective for tomorrow's episode. So if you resonate with that, if you feel like maybe you trust people too much or you just don't trust people at all, tune in for tomorrow's episode because I'm sure there will be a lesson in it for all of us. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Make sure you're meeting your most important need. Next Level Nation.